everyone of you to our spring band concert as well as our jazz ensemble this evening. And I know it's wet and cold and late spring, so I just know all of you have so many competing activities and priorities and obligations and celebrations this coming year. So I just appreciate all of you being together tonight to celebrate our students who worked so hard to share their musical talents with us at the end of the school year. And I know those musical talents don't come easy as they practice and practice and practice, but they're under the guidance of very inspirational leaders, and that is Miss Leslie Moffitt, our director of our band. Celebrate our director of our jazz ensemble, Mr. Scott Swanberg. And we're in for a special treat with all of our students. But I have to say a special shout out to our jazz ensemble. They assembled about halfway through the school year and met in the early mornings before school started, under the direction of Scott Swanberg. And so for just about 6 months to come up and to perform here at the end of the school year. I'm just so proud of all their talents, and thank you again for being here this evening. And without further ado, sit back and relax and enjoy it.
If you were a soloist on that song, could you please stand up? Solos were Jake Montuba, Matt Montana, Andrea Montana, Russell Montana, and Christian Montana. That was St. Louis Blues. We're going to do one more before we turn it over to the concert bands. This is going to feature Shay on the kit. This is Sing, Sing, Sing.
so excited to have this as part of our program now. We're going to take just a moment, push our chairs and stands back a little, close the curtains. Miss Ellis is going to take the beginning bend out, and just a minute, magic's going to happen. We'll have a quick transformation, and we'll have the next group. Imagine. Try to stop. Can you hear me now? like Dr. Wellington said, really grateful for all of you putting your lives on pause to bring your kids and to come enjoy this music. These guys just sat through testing season and all of that. And how fun is it in music that instead of sitting and taking a test like that, they get to come and just show an appreciative audience what they have learned this year. So tonight you get to hear each group. You've heard them progressively throughout the school year. And some of you might recognize some of the songs you've played before, but we're just not going to hoot and holler about, okay? So we're just going to keep it, we appreciate your enthusiasm. So we have to stay focused up here. So we're just going to start with our beginning band. We're putting all of the students from 2 different classes together to perform Dark Star first. With 80 some students up here, it's hard to get soft. And we're working on our softs. And we're going to get a little softer on our next piece as we perform a song called Swing Town. And because we've got the jazz program going now and stuff, I thought even if they're not part of the jazz program, we want them to learn a little bit of that language and that genre. So we're going to play swing, and the difference in that is that 8 notes, instead of everything being nice and even like da 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 da, they're going to be like da 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 da. So it's just a little more laid back music. So this is their first time playing swing music. favorite of all of them, Pirates of the Caribbean, and it has two of the songs from that movie. It would be a band concert if I didn't have a misprint up here. Please ignore what the first one is. We're going to do the can-can first, and then we're going to play Jupiter from Gustav Holst's The Planets. And then we will end with The Invincible Warrior. I have an updated slide on my Canva account, but I sent Keith the link and didn't update his, so it's my fault. Anyway, this is our intermediate band, so most of these students have played for, they're in their second year. So enjoy. through our music library and found this. I had never heard it before. I gave it to the students and they fell in love with it. So hopefully you love the Invincible Warrior. It's easier than picking it up every time. Before we continue, I will let you know I'm not with your phones now, obviously, but if you're able to help us at all, we have a lot of students. Every kid you see on this stage, 20% of our student body walks into the band room every day and takes a class with me. I'm the only teacher. And so any money that goes towards this here helps bring in coaches to help coach our students. A very good friend of mine who spent many, many years volunteering with our Jackson Jazz Bands when I was the director there, passed away recently. And his wife, instead of asking for flowers and lights, she said, please donate to the Heatherwood and Jackson Music Department in memory of her husband, who had been such an amazing volunteer. And so if you click that, you're going to see the Gary Martin Memorial Fund. That money is exclusively for us to help your kids directly with people coming into our room, just like Gary used to do. Gary's friends and family who don't even know our kids have already put in over $5,500 for your children. We want to kick off next year really strong. And I'd also like to just take a moment to point out that we, in our music department and our school, are very fortunate. We have a principal who saw the size of our program grow and grow and grow. And she advocated so that we could add another section of band as we get even more students next year. So thank you, Dr. Lawrence. You probably know that's not happening in all the schools around the country. We are so blessed. And your kids are the reason that we keep coming back every day to do this work. So you didn't come here to hear me talk. But before, I gotta tell you one thing. If your kids will forget, probably, so if your child's instrument belongs to you or you're renting it from a music store, it can go home with you tonight unless your kid's on stage now, because they need them on Friday. Every kid who's been renting a school instrument, no matter what groups they're in, needs to bring them back tomorrow for check-in so you don't have to buy a new one for the school. They're very expensive, so if you just return it, that would be easier. And we're collecting all their sheet music tomorrow, not for beginning band, but for the others. So please encourage your kids to bring those things, or there will be fines involved, and that's not fun. All right, Mr. Corning, let's see what's next. All right, Firebirds. This is such a cool piece. Randall Standish took the piece, and he wrote it, and if you're familiar with Stravinsky's Firebird Suite, you're going to hear that famous orchestral piece embedded in this piece called Firebirds. Up next, no pun intended, we have selections from us, so you'll probably hear some pretty familiar pieces within this. I want to acknowledge some of our students this evening with some certificates of excellence. So what I'll do is, thank you, Ms. Ellis. I'm going to tell you briefly about the award, and then I will read 4 names, one for each of our classes. We have 2 beginning bands, 1 intermediate, and 1 advanced. After I say the name for the person, give me 1 clap. I'll say the next name, give me another clap. So I'll just say first names. You're going to see first and last up here. That way you can just get a nice rhythm going, and it will go really quick. If your name is called, would you please come up and see Ms. Ellis, who will hand you your certificates. Our most inspirational students demonstrate excellence every day. They come to class prepared to participate fully and are always willing to help others. And their consistent effort and positive attitude makes them an invaluable member of our band family. And our students have the opportunity to nominate students. So tonight we will present, remember 1 clap. For beginning band, Kaylee, Joey, Noah, and Jordan. I appreciate you students keeping, and this isn't like a rock concert, so we'll just be a little more sophisticated. We're not going to scream it out, okay? Outstanding musicianship. Well, you've heard a lot of that tonight. We're going to acknowledge 4 of our students who consistently display outstanding musical habits. They come to rehearsals prepared, perform with focus and expression, and serve as a musical role model for their peers. Their dedication elevates the entire ensemble. So let's begin with beginning band, Arton, also goes by Tim, Lucas, Alan, and Nathan. I'm going to go ahead and move on while they quietly come up. Our most improved students has shown remarkable growth over the year through their determination, practice, and a willingness to learn. They've made incredible strides and demonstrated what it truly means to persevere. That's not common in middle schoolers these days. This is hard work. These guys are doing it. So let's acknowledge tonight Christian, Toby, Davis Brown, and Caitlin. All right, our leadership students, they lead by example. And sometimes that doesn't mean coming in and bossing people around. It can mean coming in and doing what you need to do so others see that. So these are students who lead by example with integrity, initiative, and kindness. Whether it's guiding sectionals or supporting their classmates, stepping up when needed, they embody the spirit of leadership that strengthens our band community. So tonight we're going to recognize Diego, Edgar, Caleb, and Mara. Now, I have one other award to present. I'm a member of Women Band Directors International, and as part of that, I'm president of your Washington State chapter. I have the privilege of nominating students for the Women Band Directors International All-Star Honor Roll in recognition of outstanding performance and contributions to your school's band program. This doesn't have to go to a female just because it's a women's band director organization. I have 5 students that I would like to acknowledge with this international award. Jake Peck, Kenley, Ryra, River, and Emmy. piece of music to do.
Hi, my name is Tony. I'm an 8th grader and I play the baritone in our advanced jazz band. The other two go shortly the next game are Amy and Jake, 8th graders as well. Us and the rest of the class want to do something special in this month to show our gratitude. As 8th graders, we obviously won't be here next year and we won't see her very often. Miss Moffat has given up so much of her time to make us the best band and people we can be. Even though it can be a struggle working with a bunch of middle schoolers, she's always believed in us. She has put years and years into the band program here at Jackson and just music ed in general. There isn't enough we can say or give her that sums up how much she deserves. So thank you from all of us, Miss Moffat, because there's no way we'd be where we are without you.
I'm supposed to wait, sorry, it's getting hot off my already. Oh my goodness. You guys, it's a metronome. This is very, very, very thoughtful. Very thoughtful. How sweet. It's been such a privilege to be here for the last 4 years. I guess it's gone so fast. This group of 8th graders, in fact, can I just ask all of our 8th graders to stand? We have a few that have been leaders in our intermediate band this year as 8th graders, so could you stand as well? 8th graders stand. Let's give them a huge hand. They were only the second group of students I'd ever started as beginners, and I was a little nervous. And I had Miss Ellis here to help me, thank goodness. And boy, they've grown so much. And so, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, we were playing in rehearsal, and all of a sudden I was like, I know a piece of music they have to play. And I called the high school, because it was a piece I had done at Jackson High School, because it's typically a high school piece. And I said, Mr. Lundquist, can I borrow that? So I brought it in the next day to the kids, and wow. I need to give you a little backstory, so give me just a moment to explain it so you understand it, and I think you'll find it to be very powerful. This is called Flight of Valor, and it's referring to the flight, I think it was Flight 91 on 9/11. Some flights had gone down and hit different buildings, and this fourth flight that was, they realized at one point that they were going to crash. And so instead of just letting the hijacked aircraft crash where they was intended, they wanted it to go, the passengers took it down in a field so that it didn't hurt people on the ground. They were real heroes. And that's what this piece is about. You'll hear the beginning of it where it starts out just very calmly. It was a Tuesday morning in a clear sunny day, and it sounds like that with the music. And then we're going down the runway. And then pretty soon you'll start to feel things get a little uncomfortable. And then it's going to get very uncomfortable. And then you're going to know when the plane crashes. And that seems like kind of an icky thing to end a concert with, but I have to tell you it doesn't end there. There's a piece of music embedded in this, and it was written about coming back after crisis. And I remember 9/11 vividly, and our country and the world felt like the country was coming together, and we picked up from the ashes and helped each other out. And this piece goes on after the crash, in that same thing about gathering together, supporting one another, and making a difference. So these kids are going to play that for you, and I hope you really enjoy it. And then following our concert tonight, we don't need to have anybody come up and move anything. There's another event, so all you gotta do is take your kid and go. That's it. Everybody else will be good tonight. I'm so excited. So thank you so much. If you're an 8th grade parent, thank you so much. You have started your kids on an incredible journey, and I'm going to keep stalking them at Jackson High School so I can continue to watch them. Thanks for being here tonight. Enjoy Flight of Valor. away your stuff and then you are free to go.